Hey there. We live in a world ruled by technology. I mean, that's just true. Like, every inch of the world is covered by this stuff. And I mean, that's a good thing. It's led to medical advancements, being able to talk to people across the world, new job opportunities, and so on. But, of course, there's downsides to it. The internet is a cool place. But, I mean, it has its downsides. I mean, kids these days don't have their phones for 5 minutes, and this is what happens. Yeah. You wanna know how I know that? I am kids these days. Anyway, today we're talking about Nintendo's history with the internet, all the way from the GameCube era until now. Yeah, there's a lot to cover, so let's get into this. The early 2000s were a strange new time for everyone. The internet had become mainstream and was constantly evolving, and that meant that many new concepts were emerging. Social media platforms were created, sites like YouTube allowed us to watch and upload videos for the entire world to see, and of course, online gaming took its important place in the gaming landscape. The PS2 and Xbox both had plenty of games that could be played online, like Halo, with their own dedicated servers being used for them. But as we all know, Nintendo tends to be behind the times. You might not realize it, but there were actually some games with online support on GameCube. Nintendo had tried their hand at online features in Japan before, with things like the Satellaview, but this was the first time anything of the kind had reached the US, which is why we're starting here. Us Americans are pretty self-centered after all. However, this wasn't Nintendo's work. Nintendo didn't run any dedicated servers for online play because in the GameCube era, they really had little interest in such a thing, claiming that their single-player games would bring enough to the table. If third-party developers wanted to make an online game for the console, they were more than welcome to, but Nintendo forced them to run their own servers. In the end, the only notable game that had online play was Phantasy Star Online, which even had a special GameCube controller that had a keyboard in the middle. So yeah, you could say that the GameCube had some online offerings, but for the sake of this video, it doesn't matter all that much since Nintendo wasn't responsible for this. By the time the Wii and DS were released, Nintendo had come around to the idea of having an online service. So in 2005, with Satoru Iwata at the helm, the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection was initiated. Nintendo was finally running their own dedicated servers that allowed us to play their games online. Some of the DS games that had online functionality were Animal Crossing Wild World, Mario Kart DS, a ton of Pokemon games, and so on. These same series also got online games on the Wii, like Animal Crossing City Folk, Mario Kart Wii, and Pokemon Battle Revolution, but there were also games like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario Strikers Charge, and Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. Something to note is that some games didn't run off of Nintendo servers, similarly to the GameCube era. The Call of Duty games on these consoles ran off Activision servers, meaning that when the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection was eventually shut down, these games could still be played. I'm sure you can still play them online to this day. However, online play wasn't the only thing included in this service. There were a lot of firsts from Nintendo in this era. For example, the Wii Shop channel. You could download games online straight to your console, as well as WiiWare games that could only be bought from this store. Nintendo also provided services like Netflix or YouTube. The DSi also had a shop that functioned similarly to the Wii Shop channel. Some Wii games had downloadable content, which was definitely a first for them. The Wii and DS both had internet browsers. You could communicate on the Wii using the Wii message board. DS Download Play allowed multiple users to play the same game off of one cart, and both consoles had system updates. Each game using the service would generate friend codes that do exactly what you think they do. And several Wii channels, such as the News channel or Forecast channel, used the internet to receive news. You have to remember the Wii was trying to simulate a TV, since that's something their target demographic would be familiar with. Having the news and weather on there only makes sense. The Wii used something called Wii Connect 24 in order to get the news. Wii Connect 24 basically allowed the console to still be connected to the internet when it was in rest mode, meaning that you could still get the latest news at all times. Something really cool is that some games actually connected with the Forecast channel to simulate your location's current weather in the game. The service ended on May 20th, 2014, and I gotta say, I was devastated. Sure, I had a 3DS at that point and was enjoying the hell out of it, but I still had things to do in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. I won't talk too much about that because there'll probably be a dedicated video to it at some point, but I put hundreds of hours into those games. I did literally everything you can imagine in those games. If there's something Black 2 and White 2 had a lot of, it was optional side content and post-game content. However, the one aspect I never got enough out of was the online aspect. I still had trading to do, man. At least Pokemon X and Y was probably the best game for online if you were still interested, but Black 2 and White 2 were my favorite Pokemon games, so having to move on was tough.
The next era is one that I remember fondly, since this is the time where I was really coming into my own as a gamer. I was starting to solidify my taste in games, I was expanding my horizons, and I was having a damn good time with the 3DS. Or at least I was until I dropped it on a concrete floor and broke the top screen. But hey, I was playing Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almi at the time, which is mostly on the bottom screen, so everything was a-okay. Or it was, until I dropped it again in a rainstorm, causing it to break in half. Then I was forced to buy the dreaded 2DS. Those were rough times. But I eventually got a new 3DS XL, which was great, but then I sold it for some reason, and now to replace it I have a shitty non-XL new 3DS that's too small for my hands. I can never be satisfied. I got way off track there, so let's return to the topic at hand. The Nintendo Network is the service that replaced the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, and this one was a lot better, you really can't deny that. No more single accounts linked to single systems. This was one unified network where you actually had one single account that could be used across the 3DS, Wii U, and Nintendo's website. That's not a novel concept or anything, PlayStation and Xbox were already doing that, but hey, Nintendo was finally catching up and you still didn't have to pay to use their service, so that was great. Surely nothing would ever happen to disrupt that peace, right? Oh, you wanna know where my username came from? You might be aware that basically everywhere I'm SmashMax. It's just my identity at this point, and it's been so long that it feels wrong to change it. It all started here, baby. The first time that name was ever used was for my Nintendo Network ID in either 2014 or 2015. The name was supposed to be a derivative of Smashmaster. I played a lot of Smash 3DS at the time, and I thought I was really good at the game. Newsflash, I wasn't. And I wanted my name to reflect that. The 3DS had an absurdly small character limit though, so I shortened it to SmashMax. I mean, the meaning behind the name SmashMast certainly could have been left up to interpretation, so it's probably a good thing I chose the name I did. You know, these days I'm drowning in the black hole that is Twitter, but as far as social media goes, there was another. My first social media platform was, of course, Miiverse. Nintendo decided to hop on the social media bandwagon, making their own social media platform for fans to talk about their games directly from their 3DS or Wii U console, being able to provide screenshots and drawings as well. I really miss those days, it was a simpler time. I used to have Pokemon Art Academy on 3DS, and I would post my drawings from that game on Miiverse, and I actually had some fans. That was fun, but yeah, as you're probably aware, Miiverse would eventually shut down, so now we can only remember it through the Miiverse archive, Archiverse. It's a really great website to find these old posts, check it out when you have the time. I really wish I could find some of my posts, but none of them seem to be on here, so it seems they're truly just lost to time. Next up is something you're probably aware of, the Nintendo eShop. This was, of course, the replacement for the Wii Shop channel and the DSi shop, but this was a much bigger deal. There was still plenty of shovelware, of course, but if you weren't big on physical games, you were in luck. Pretty much all of Nintendo's AAA games for the 3DS and Wii U would also be sold on the eShop at launch, and the same goes for plenty of third-party games. You could actually link your funds, meaning that any money in your wallet on one eShop would also be there on the other, which really enforces the idea that this is a one unified service. But those eShops truly have a ton of great stuff you might want to grab before it's too late, since the eShop will be shutting down soon. I recommend John Cartwright's videos on the topic over at Good Vibes Gaming. He'll show you plenty of games worth grabbing. The clock is ticking. You're probably familiar with Street Pass, but what about his brother, Spot Pass? It's basically just Wii Connect 24, so I'm not talking about it. Next. Believe it or not, the Wii U actually had a voice chat and video call program. I mean, this was back when Skype was still popular, right? I mean, it can't get much worse than that. But really, it makes so much sense when you think about it. The Wii U gamepad has a camera on the front, so being able to carry the gamepad around and have a call with someone makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'd still rather do it on my smartphone, but to each their own. Of course, just like last generation, there were plenty of video apps in the Wii U and 3DS. Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Crunchyroll, and Amazon Video were the big ones. Both systems had an internet browser, and I'll admit, I actually used a 3DS browser a bit back in the day. It wasn't great by any means, but it worked. And that's enough about that though, I'd rather not talk about the less than wholesome things I saw in that web browser. Club Nintendo and later on My Nintendo were big deals at this point. They were basically just loyalty programs that you could win prizes from in exchange for points, but that could be a whole video on its own, so I won't talk about it. Scott the Woz is a great video on the topic that I recommend. Of course, there were online games, but I'm skimming over that a little bit. I mean, do you really want me to go down the entire list of games that have online functionality? But of course, the big ones are what you'd expect. On 3DS, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Mario Kart 7, Pokemon X and Y, Zelda Triforce Heroes, and Smash 3DS. On Wii U, Minecraft, Mario Kart 8, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, Nintendo Land, Splatoon, Smash for Wii U, and Wii Sports Club. Virtual Console was still a thing from the Wii era, allowing you to buy plenty of older games from the eShop, but we'll touch more on that in a bit. For the first year and a half or so of the Switch's life cycle, you didn't have to pay to use online functionality. Great, that's how it's always been. Nintendo would dare change that on us, would they? Crap. So yeah, we knew that the new online service was coming. It had been confirmed for a while, but they kept pushing the release of it. In September 2018, they finally released Nintendo Switch Online, Nintendo's first paid online service. In comparison to other similar services, this is pretty cheap. I mean, $20 for a year's worth of online is a pretty good deal. Granted, the service really didn't have the same range of features as PlayStation or Xbox's services, which is why Nintendo's was so cheap. The service allows you to play games online, of course. Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Smash Ultimate, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Tetris 99 are some of the big ones. But again, there's so many games on a console, both first party and third party, so there's really no point in me listing off normal games. Another feature is cloud storage. Your game save data can be backed up online, meaning if you ever start using a different Switch or something like that, you can easily restore the save data. I mean, that's just how this works now. Back in the day, the save data was stored directly to the cartridge, you know? And that's how I got a pre-owned copy of Pokemon Black that had 999 Master Balls in it. Thanks, kind person who traded that in the GameStop. Not all games support the cloud storage feature though. Most notably is the Pokemon games. I mean, there's a ton of mainline Pokemon games on Switch now, from Sword and Shield to Legends Arceus or Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, but none of them can be backed up for some reason. There's a Nintendo Switch Online app, but why? I mean, some of Nintendo's other mobile apps I can understand since they're actual games, but really, the only notable thing this app offers is voice chat, and why would I use it? I'm already going to an outside source to get voice chat for the game I'm playing. Why would I not just use Discord or something? If they had a voice chat system actually implemented into the console, it would be a different story, but I really don't see the point in this. Now, the thing people probably care about most is the retro games provided by Nintendo as a part of this service. Initially, they only had a Switch app for NES games. You just boot up the app, pick a game, and play it. They later introduced Super Nintendo games, Nintendo 64 games, and Sega Genesis games. So now, instead of buying these games individually through Virtual Console, you just pay for a subscription to be able to play the games Nintendo says you get to play, with more games added periodically. The Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games are only available through Nintendo's newer, pricier subscription, the Expansion Pack. This one costs $50 a year, and also lets you play the DLC for some of the games without buying it, such as Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Animal Crossing New Horizons. I get why people think this isn't worth the price, but if they keep adding onto it, I think the value will be worth it. There's so many more DLCs they could add to help with that. I'd personally like Xenoblade and Fire Emblem DLC to be on here, but who knows. Some people think we need another game library to make it worth our money, like Game Boy or GameCube, and I can agree with that. N64 games? Sure, that's cool. But Genesis games aren't as much of a kicker, considering a ton of Genesis games can already be played elsewhere on Switch. I think having GameCube games would be a great thing, since many people have never experienced that generation of games. I understand why people might prefer Virtual Console, I really do, but I think if Nintendo can just add good quality games to this service frequently, then that can be a good substitute.
So yeah, that's pretty much everything I got about the history of Nintendo's online features. Now, like I was saying before, Gen Z and phones are intrinsically linked. I mean, you can't have one without the other these days. So I was thinking, as someone who's in Gen Z myself, I would take it upon myself to link myself to the internet and technology even further. So that's right, today we're going to discover a way to become one with computers and enter the digital world, just like Wreck-It Ralph in that one movie that everyone hated. Alright, I've been studying this for a while, so I think I pretty much understand what I need to do here, so just give me a second, I'll get this going. And activate Protocol 69. Whoa! Okay. So this is the internet. A little less interesting than I was hoping. It's just a lot of green. Well, okay, I guess I should probably take a look around, see if I can worm my way into some secret government documents or something. I don't know. Hopefully there's no terms of service, though, because I'm not going to accept them, because I'm American. Oh, looks like they got some rules here. Let's see, Rule 1... I don't care. Let's just pick a random number, right? Any of the rules will be fine. I'm not going to follow them anyway, but I'm just curious, So, let's go all the way down there, to the 30s. Yeah. Okay, let's pick a random number here. 34. Yeah, 34 is an alright number. Let's see. If it exists, there's... Oh. I was not expecting that. Well, let's give it a whirl anyway. Let's open up this door and see, because it can't be that bad, right? I mean, what's the worst it could be? Abe Lincoln in his birthday suit? I don't know. Wait. The Kool-Aid Man. That is the last thing I expected, but I guess he exists, so... How does that even work? I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and I still don't understand. I want to get out of here now. I don't like the internet anymore. It's a weird place, and I think the kids of this generation should probably stay away from it. So, I'm gonna try and find a way out of here, but... Oh god, no. They're on my trail. They know I'm in here without permission. On the way here, I kind of stopped at the White House's personal database, and I found some secrets. You won't believe what Obama did in his presidency. I gotta get out of here quick before the malware gets me. Alright. See you on the flip side.
Oh yeah!